Hi, in the past decades, a large portion of the tech workers here in Silicon Valley, they are born somewhere else and they came to the US with work visas that allow you employment and permanent residence and citizenship eventually if you so desire. And today we're going to review some of the most common visas for tech workers here in the US. And at the end of the video, I'm going to place a table on the screen with all the details for all the visas for your review. Hi, welcome to Careers Cast, and today we're going to talk about work visas to the US in the technology space. The first disclaimer is that I am not a lawyer, I am a technologist, so my goal today is just to provide you with a high level overview so you can direct your research. Eventually, you need to talk to an immigration lawyer if you decide to pursue a visa to come to the US. I personally have first-hand experience. I came to the U.S. from Brazil in 1993 with an H1-B visa, and eventually I applied for permanent residence or green card, and then eventually became a U.S. citizen. Over my career, I have directly applied for about 50 work visas for people I was hiring, and then indirectly I have sponsored maybe a couple hundred work visas over my 35-year career here in Silicon Valley. If you are planning, right, to pursue a work visa in the US, you need to know that there are several challenges. There is some uncertainty and some stress you're subject to once you get your work visa. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well. But first, let's go through the list of visas that are applicable. So the first visa I want to talk about is the student visa, or F1. So if you decide to come to the US to attend university or to attend a 4-year college degree, you can apply, or the school has to apply for F1 visa, which is a student visa. That visa allows you to maintain legal status in the US while you're going through the coursework. And the reason why it's relevant to work visas is that the F1 visa, once you graduate from your college or university degree, there is something called the optional practical training, or OPT, which is a 1-year work permit that allows you to stay for 1 extra year after you graduate in the US legally, and not only to live here legally but to look for a job. And that's an important bridge because it's much easier for you to get a job in the US if you're already legally living here, and the F1 allows you that bridge, right? You graduate, you have 1 year, you find a job, and that company can sponsor a work visa for you, and you can work continuously right through your F1 visa and then start the work visa without interruptions. And that's a big advantage with the F1 visa transition into a work visa. If you're here with a F1 visa, your spouse and minor children can come. They get F2 visa. The F2 visa does not allow for work, so you can live legally here, but you cannot work in the U.S. The most common by far work visa in technology is what's called the H1-B visa. Is a visa that's based on technical skills, and the rationale for it is if US companies need specialized technical workers, they can show that they haven't been able to hire them locally among US citizens. So the government gives them a license to bring workers from elsewhere, and that's the H1B visa. That is usually a quota for a number of visas can be issued in 1 year. That's defined by Congress. And in recent years, the quota has been 65,000 per year, with 20,000 for people with master's degrees. Usually there is more applicants than the quota, which means who gets the visa is defined through a lottery, right? So you might qualify, but it's not certain you get it. The H1B visa is sponsored by the company, so it's tied to your employment with a company. So in order to apply for H1B visa, you need to have a company who has a job offer to you, and the company is the one who applies for H1. The H1B visa application happens early in the year. They are submitted in April, And usually, if the visa is approved, you can start around September, October time frame, and the process happens once a year. So the big challenge of getting a H1B visa is that you need to get a job offer from a US company while living outside the US, and the company needs to apply in April, and you only start working in October. So the company really needs to be committed to you, to bringing you as a H1B worker. So that's a challenge. And again, if you come as a student, that bridge is easier. If you're coming directly as impractical reality, it only works if you already work for the company in your country of origin. It's not necessarily by the visa, but it's very rare that a company will sponsor H1B visa and commit you for 6 months before you can start working. Um, so the H1B visa, that's a challenge, right? The next visa is very similar to the H1B. It's called the L1. The L1 visa is used for internal transfers, so it's also company sponsored, where a company that has offices in multiple countries can transfer workers from one office to another. L1A is for managers and executives, so the transfer is based on the position, the title of the person within the company, and L1B is based on expertise. The L1, a spouse or minor children can come and they get an L2. And the big difference between the L2, the H1B, and the L1 is that the L2 visa for spouses allow you to work. So if you're coming uh, to the US with an L1 visa, your spouse will get a L2 visa status, and that includes a work permit that allows them to work legally in the US as well. The L1, L2 don't have a cap, and they can be approved anytime. So it is a more flexible, but again, it depends on you already working for the company somewhere else and the company transferring you here. And the last visa we're gonna review today is the O visa. O visa is for a special achievement. So if you're a Nobel Prize, if you're a PhD and consider a world expert in something, you might qualify for the O visa. And it's also usually company sponsored. And in order to qualify for one, you need to show evidence that you are indeed a world expert in something, right? And that usually includes major awards, or if you have done enough work, right? Publications, exposure to the mainstream media are typical evidence to qualify for an O type visa. One thing that's common among all the work visas is they are non-immigrant status, meaning you are allowed to stay here while you are working. So one thing that's important about all these work-related visas is that they give you a non-immigrant visa status, so you can legally live here and work here, but your stay here is attached to your employment. So if you lose your job, you have a very short time to either find another company who is willing to take that visa and continue sponsoring it, or you need to return to your country, right? So living in the US with a work visa can be stressful, and it's not for everyone because you always have that insecurity that if you lose your job, you very quickly could have to return to your country of origin, right? And typically, with after a few years under any of those visas, there is an option for you to apply for a green card. Typically, your company needs to sponsor that as well. And if they help you with the green card application, once you get the permanent residence, then your stay here is no longer attached to your employment, and that gives you some peace of mind. And then once you have 4 or 5 years of permanent residence, if you wish to become a U.S. citizen, you can apply for U.S. citizenship, right? So if you look in Silicon Valley today, think of all the CEOs of the big companies, a lot of them, right, a large portion of them are immigrants who came to the US originally with a student visa, a work visa, and then they went through this process. I have gone through this process myself, and I hope this review is useful. As I said, I'm not a lawyer, but I hope it gives you an idea of where you're gonna research depending on your situation. And I hope that's useful. And if it was, please subscribe and share this information with other people who might benefit from it. So see you in the next episode of Careerscast.